The most dangerous future is not the unknown. It is the one you are quietly building right now, not with your plans, but with your delays, your excuses, your comfort. Every day you choose ease over discipline, you are writing a bill your future self must pay. And let me be clear, that bill always comes due. You won't escape it. You won't negotiate it. You will live it. Because time is not emotional. Time does not care how you feel. It only multiplies what you do. If you waste it, it compounds regret. If you use it, it compounds power. So the question is simple. Are you building a future you can survive or one you will fear? Chapter 1. Stop reacting. Start responding. Reacting is easy. Responding is hard. That's the difference. And that difference? It will decide your future. Most people don't lose their lives in one big mistake. They lose it in small emotional moments. Moments where they react instead of respond. Moments where they speak too fast, decide too fast, quit too fast. Emotion is fast. Control is slow. So choose slow. That's the key. You see, reacting is automatic. It requires no effort, no thinking, no discipline. Someone insults you, you react. Something goes wrong, you react. Things don't go your way, you react. And every reaction is a loss of control. Every reaction hands your power to something outside you. But responding? Responding is different. Responding is deliberate. It is controlled. It is chosen. And here's the truth most people avoid. You have a choice. You always have a choice. Not over what happens to you, but over how you respond to it. And that response is everything. Let's make it simple. When something happens, there is a gap. A small, almost invisible gap between what happens and what you do next. That gap is your power, but most people never use it. They fill it instantly with emotion, anger, fear, frustration. And in doing that, they lose the only thing that could save them, control. So here's what you must learn. Pause. That's it. Pause. It sounds simple, but it is not easy, because your mind is trained to react fast. Your ego wants to respond immediately. Your emotions want to take over, but you are not your emotions. Say it again. You are not your emotions. You are the one who chooses what to do with them. So the next time something happens, pause, breathe, then decide. Pause, breathe, then decide. Repeat it until it becomes your default. Because if you don't control your emotions will control your future, and that is not a future you want. Let's go deeper. Think about the last time you reacted emotionally. Maybe you said something you regret. Maybe you walked away from something important. Maybe you gave up too early. In that moment, it felt justified. That's how reactions work. They feel right in the moment, but wrong in the long run. That's the trap. That's how people destroy opportunities, relationships, careers, their future, all because they could not wait. They could not pause. They could not respond. So you must train yourself differently. You must become someone who is hard to shake. He's someone who does not break under pressure, someone who does not lose control when things go wrong. And that starts with one decision. I do not react, I respond. Say it again. I do not react, I respond. This is not just a sentence, it is an identity. Because once you decide this, you stop being controlled by situations and you start controlling yourself. And that changes everything. Because calm creates clarity, and clarity creates power. Let me say that again. Calm creates clarity. Clarity creates power. When you are calm, you see better, you think better, you decide better. But when you are emotional, you are blind. Blind to consequences, blind to long-term effects, blind to reality. And blind decisions always lead to painful outcomes. So slow down. You don't need to rush your response. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need their permission to stay calm. You have a choice. That's the key. Every situation will test you. Every challenge will push you. But those moments are not there to break you. They are there to reveal you. Chapter 2. Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. Most people misunderstand discipline. They see it as restriction, as stress, as something painful, something to avoid. But that is exactly why their lives become difficult, because what they call freedom is actually slow destruction. Let me tell you the truth. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is protection. Protection from who? From you. From your lazy days, your emotional decisions, your need for comfort, your habit of choosing what feels good now instead of what works later. That's the real danger. Not enemies. Not bad luck. You. Left unchecked. You have a choice. That's the key. Every day you choose between two paths. The easy path or the disciplined path. The easy path feels good now, but costs you later. The disciplined path feels hard now, but protects you later. And here's what most people don't realize. Both paths are hard, but one pays you and the other punishes you. So choose your hard. That's the key. Let's break it down. Waking up early is hard, but struggling with missed opportunities is harder. Saving money's hard, but being broke when life demands more is harder. Learning skills is hard, but being irrelevant in a competitive world is harder. Discipline is simply choosing the pain that pays you. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing complicated. But most people avoid that pain. They delay it. They ignore it. And in doing so, they multiply it. Because pain does not disappear. It only moves. It moves from now to later. And when it comes later, it is heavier, louder, more expensive. That is the price of indiscipline. Let's be clear. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent, doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it, especially when you don't feel like doing it, because feelings are unreliable. They change, they fluctuate, they disappear, but discipline stays. Discipline does not ask how you feel. It asks what needs to be done, and that is why it protects you. Because when your motivation disappears, and it will, discipline keeps you moving. When you are tired, discipline shows up. When you are distracted, discipline refocuses you. When you want to quit, discipline reminds you why you started. You don't need motivation. You need structure. That's the key. Structure removes confusion. It removes decision fatigue. It tells you what to do without negotiating with your emotions. Because the more you negotiate with yourself, the more you lose. So stop negotiating. Decide once. Then follow through. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You don't need validation. You need discipline. Because discipline builds something most people never achieve: self-trust. The ability to trust yourself to do what you said you would do. And once you have that, everything changes. Your confidence increases, your focus sharpens, your results improve. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. That's the shift. That's the transformation. Let's go deeper. Think about your current habits. Be honest. Where are you choosing comfort over discipline? Is it in your sleep, your work ethic, your finances, your learning? Those small choices you keep making, they are not small. They are shaping your future, quietly, consistently, relentlessly, and one day, and they will show up as your reality. That is how life works. Not in dramatic moments, but in repeated decisions. So if your life is not where you want it to be, don't look for a big solution. Look for small discipline, daily discipline, because that is what compounds. That is what builds results. That is what protects your future. You have a choice. That's the key. You can continue choosing comfort and pay for it later. Or you can choose discipline now and thank yourself later. But understand this. No one is coming to enforce it for you. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to build your life for you. That responsibility is yours, and yours alone. So own it. Own your time, own your habits, own your decisions. Because once you take ownership, you take control. And control is power. Let me say that again. Control is power. And discipline is how you get it. Chapter. Takeaway. Discipline is not there to restrict you. It is there to protect you from becoming someone you will regret. So stop avoiding it. Choose the hard that pays you, because in the next chapter, you will face another truth. You are not stuck because you don't know what to do. You are stuck because you keep waiting to show you who you really are. Are you someone who reacts or someone who responds? Because your answer to that question will shape your future more than anything else. So from this moment forward, decide. Decide that you will not give away your power cheaply. Decide that you will not let emotions control your direction. Decide that you will slow down when it matters most, because that is where your future is decided. Not in big moments, but in small reactions or small responses. You have a choice. That's the key. Chapter. Takeaway. If you cannot control your reactions, you cannot control your life. So pause, breathe, then decide. Because in the next chapter, you will understand something deeper. Why discipline, what feels uncomfortable now, is the only thing protecting your future from collapse. Chapter 3. Stop waiting. Start building. Waiting feels safe. That's why you keep doing it. You tell yourself you're being patient. You tell yourself you're preparing. You tell yourself the time is not right. But let's be honest. You're not waiting. You're avoiding. Avoiding discomfort. Avoiding failure. Avoiding responsibility. And every day you wait, your future gets weaker. That's the truth. You have a choice. That's the key. You can wait or you can build. But you cannot do both. Because waiting delays your life. Building moves your life. So decide. Right now. Let's break the illusion. There is no perfect time, no perfect moment, no perfect condition, no perfect version of you that suddenly appears ready. That version of you, it does not exist. It is built through action, through repetition, through mistakes. That's how confidence is created. Not before you start, but because you started. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you will be waiting forever. Because readiness is not a feeling, it is a result. And results only come from action. That's the key. Most people think they need clarity before they act. Wrong. Clarity comes from action. You start messy. You start unsure. You start uncomfortable. But as you move, things begin to make sense. Opportunities appear. Direction becomes clearer. Confidence grows. Not because you thought about it, but because you did something. So stop overthinking. Start doing. You don't need a full plan. You need a first step. Just one. That's all. Because movement creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Let's go deeper. Think about all the things you said you would start. That business idea. That skill you wanted to learn. That habit you wanted to build. How long have you been thinking about it? Weeks? Months? Years? And what has waiting given you? Nothing. No growth, no progress, no results, just frustration. Because deep down, you know the truth. You know you're capable of more. But you keep delaying it, and every delay comes with a cost. A hidden cost. Lost time, lost opportunities, lost confidence. Because every time you say, I'll start later, you weaken your own trust in yourself. And that is dangerous. Because once you stop trusting yourself, you stop taking action. And once you stop taking action, your life stops moving forward. That's how people get stuck. Not because they lack ability, but because they keep waiting. So break the pattern, now. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. Or you don't need approval from anyone to start improving your life. You have a choice. That's the key. And the choice is simple. Start now or stay the same. Let me make it real for you. If you start today, you will struggle. You will make mistakes. You will feel uncomfortable, but you will grow. If you wait, you will feel safe, comfortable, certain, unchallenged, but you will stay the same. So again, choose your hard, because both paths have consequences. One leads to growth, the other leads to regret, and regret is heavier. Always. Let's talk about fear, because that's what's really behind your waiting. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough. But here's the truth. You will fail. You will be judged. You will not be good enough at first. That's part of the process. That's how growth works. Nobody starts perfect. Nobody starts confident. Nobody starts ready. They start anyway. That's the difference. That's the key. So stop trying to avoid failure. Use it. Learn from it. Adjust. Keep moving. Because failure is not the opposite of success. Waiting is. Let me say that again. Failure is not the opposite of success. Waiting is. Because failure teaches you. Waiting delays you. Failure moves you forward. Waiting keeps you stuck. So if you must choose, choose failure. At least it builds something. At least it teaches you something. At least it moves you closer to who you need to become. You have a choice. That's the key. Now let's make it practical. What is one thing you've been delaying? Just one. Not 10. Not everything. One thing. That's where you start. Break it down. Make it small. Make it simple. And take action today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Because action creates identity. Every time you act, you become someone who takes action. And that identity will carry you forward. But if you keep waiting, you become someone who delays. And that identity will trap you. So decide who you are. Right now. Are you someone who waits or someone who builds? Because your answer will shape everything that comes next. Chapter. Takeaway. You are not stuck because you don't know what to do. You are stuck because you keep waiting. So stop waiting. Start building. Because in the next chapter you will face an even deeper truth. Your future is not decided by what you do once in a while, but by what you do every single day. Chapter 4. Your habits are writing your future. Your life is not random. It is patterned. And those patterns, they are your habits. What you do every day, not once in a while, is quietly building your future. That's the truth. Not your goals, not your intentions, not your plans, your habits. That's the key. You have a choice. Every single day you are voting. Voting for the person you are becoming. With your actions, with your routines, with what you repeat. So let's make it simple. If you repeat it, you become it. If you repeat distraction, you become distracted. If you repeat laziness, you become lazy. If you repeat discipline, you become disciplined. It is that direct. No mystery, no magic, just repetition. And repetition builds identity. Most people ignore this. They focus on big changes, big plans, big goals. But they ignore the small daily actions that actually create results. That's why they stay stuck. Because big goals without daily habits mean nothing. Let me say that again. Big goals without daily habits mean nothing. You can dream all you want. You can plan all you want. But if your daily routine does not support it, it will never happen. That's the key. Your routine is your reality. Let's go deeper. Look at your average day. Not your best day. Not your most productive day. Your normal day. What do you do? How do you spend your time? What do you prioritize? What do you repeat? Because that day is your future in disguise. If your day is unstructured, your future will be unstable. If your day is distracted, your future will be delayed. If your day is disciplined, your future will be strong. It is that simple, but not easy. Because habits are comfortable, even the bad ones. Scrolling endlessly, procrastinating, avoiding hard things. They feel good now, but they cost you later. And the worst part? You don't feel the cost immediately. That's the trap. Bad habits are silent. They don't shout. They don't warn you. They just slowly build a life you don't want. Day by day. choice by choice, until one day you wake up and you don't recognize your own life. That's how it happens. Not suddenly, but gradually. So if you want to change your future, don't start with your goals. Start with your habits. That's the key. Because habits are the system, and systems produce results. Not motivation, not inspiration, systems. Let's make it practical. You say you want to improve your life. Good. But what do you do every morning? Do you wake up with purpose? Or do you drift into your day? Do you take control? Or do you react to whatever comes? Remember chapter 1? Stop reacting. Start responding. Your habits are where that decision shows up. Every morning is a test. Will you follow your plan or your feelings? You have a choice. That's the key. Let's talk about consistency, because this is where most people fail. They start strong, then they stop, they get motivated, then they disappear. They act for a few days, then go back to old patterns. Why? Because they rely on motivation. But motivation is temporary. Habits are permanent. So stop chasing motivation. Build habits instead. Small ones, simple ones, repeatable ones. Because small habits compound. That's how change really happens. Not in one big moment, but in thousands of small decisions. Let me show you how powerful this is. If you improve just 1% every day, you don't stay the same. You grow. But if you decline 1% every day, you don't notice it immediately. But over time, it destroys everything. That's the danger. That's why habits matter, because they are always working, either for you or against you. So choose wisely. You don't need to change everything at once. That's a mistake. Start small. One habit. Just one. Wake up earlier. Read for 20 minutes. Practice a skill daily. Save a small amount of money. It doesn't need to be big. It needs to be consistent. That's the key, because consistency builds trust. Trust in yourself. And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Let's go deeper again. Why do people struggle to change habits? Because they focus on the outcome, not the identity. They say, "Oh, I want to be successful," but they don't act like a successful person daily. They say, "I want discipline," but they don't practice it consistently. So change the approach. Don't focus on what you want to have. Focus on who you need to become. Then act like that person every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that is where transformation happens. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You just need to show up again and again. You have a choice. That's the key. So ask yourself, what habits are building my future? And more importantly, are they building a future I want or a future I will fear? Because whether you like it or not, your habits are writing your story. Right now. Chapter, takeaway. Your future is not created by what you do occasionally. It is created by what you do daily. So change your habits, and you change your life. Because in the next chapter, you will confront something unavoidable. The truth you keep avoiding today will confront you tomorrow with consequences. Chapter 5. Face reality. Before reality forces you. There is something you are avoiding right now. You know it. You feel it. But you keep pushing it away. You distract yourself. You delay it. You pretend it's not urgent. But it is. And the longer you avoid it, the more expensive it becomes. That's the truth. Avoidance feels comfortable in the moment, but it builds pressure in the background, silent pressure, until one day it explodes. And when it does, it doesn't ask if you're ready. It forces you to deal with everything at once. That's the danger. You have a choice. That's the key. You can face reality now, or be forced to face it later. But understand this. Later is always worse. Let's break it down. If you avoid your finances today, you will face debt tomorrow. If you avoid your health today, you will face illness tomorrow. If you avoid your responsibilities today, you will face consequences tomorrow. Life does not forget. Life does not excuse. Life only responds. and it responds based on what you do or refuse to do. That's the system. That's the key. Most people think they are buying time when they avoid things. They are not. They are accumulating problems because problems do not disappear. They grow quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And the worst part? They grow while you are distracted, scrolling, watching, talking, doing everything except the one thing that matters. That's how people wake up one day and feel overwhelmed. Not because life suddenly became hard, but because they ignored it for too long. Let's go deeper. Why do you avoid reality? Because it's uncomfortable. It challenges your current habits. It forces you to admit the truth, or it demands change. And change is hard, so you escape. You tell yourself, I'll deal with it later. You tell yourself, it's not that serious. But deep down, you know. You know it matters. You know it's important. You know it won't fix itself. And yet, you wait. That is the trap. That is how people slowly lose control of their lives. Not in one big moment, but in daily avoidance. So break it. Now. Face it. Whatever it is, face it. Because the earlier you face reality, the cheaper it is to fix. That's the key. Small problems are easy to solve, but ignored problems become crises. And crises demand more time, more energy, more sacrifice. So choose wisely. Do you want a small discomfort now, or a major crisis later? You have a choice. That's the key. Let's make it real. What are you avoiding? Be honest. Is it your finances, your career, or your education, your health, your discipline? What is that one thing you keep pushing aside? That is your starting point. Not tomorrow. Now. Because clarity does not come from thinking. It comes from confronting. When you face reality, you see clearly. You understand what needs to be done. You identify what's wrong. You take control. But when you avoid reality, you stay confused. You stay stuck. You stay powerless. That's why facing reality is power. It gives you direction. It gives you control. It gives you responsibility. And responsibility is not a burden. It is power. Let me say that again. Responsibility is not a burden. It is power. Because when you take responsibility, you stop blaming. You stop complaining. You stop waiting. And you start acting. That's the shift. That's the transformation. You don't need their permission. You don't need someone to rescue you. You need to take ownership of your life, your decisions, your situation, even if it's not your fault, even if it's unfair. Because waiting for fairness will not fix your life. Taking responsibility will. You have a choice. That's the key. Now understand this. Reality will always win. You can ignore it. You can delay it. You can pretend. But eventually, it will confront you. And when it does, it will show you everything you avoided. Your missed opportunities, your weak habits, your poor decisions, everything. That's why you must act now, before it's too late, before the cost becomes too high, before the consequences become permanent. Because time does not slow down for you. It keeps moving. And with every day you delay, you lose something. Time, energy, opportunity, things you cannot recover. Or so stop wasting them. Face reality. Deal with what matters. Fix what you can fix. Improve what you can improve. Start where you are. That's enough. That's the key. Chapter Takeaway. The truth you avoid today will control your life tomorrow, so face it now, because in the final chapter, everything comes together. You will understand how to build a future that does not embarrass you, but protects and respects you. Chapter 6. Build a future that respects you. The future is not something that happens to you. It is something you build. Every day, every decision, every action. You are either constructing a life that will support you or one that will expose you. That's the truth. And most people don't realize this until it's too late. They assume things will work out. They assume time will fix everything. They assume opportunity will always be available, but time is not loyal. Opportunity is not permanent, and life does not reward assumptions. It rewards preparation. You have a choice. That's the key. You can drift into the future, or you can design it. But drifting has consequences, serious ones, because one day your energy will reduce, your strength will slow down, your options will shrink, and when that day comes, you will not rise to your hopes. You will fall to your preparation. So what are you preparing right now? Are you building skills or wasting time? Are you creating income or depending on chance? Are you developing discipline or feeding distractions? Because whatever you are doing today is preparing your tomorrow. That's the system. That's the key. Let's make it real. A future that respects you is not built on luck. It is built on three things: skill, discipline, value. If you have skills, you can create opportunities. If you have discipline, you can sustain progress. If you create value, you will always be needed. That is your foundation. Without it, your future is fragile, unstable, unpredictable, dependent, and dependency is dangerous. Because when you depend on things outside your control, you lose power. But when you build yourself, you gain control. And control is everything. Let me say that again. Control is everything. Because life will test you. Unexpected bills, unexpected challenges, unexpected responsibilities. And when those moments come, you don't want to be hoping. You want to be ready. That's the difference. That's the shift. Most people prepare emotionally. They hope things go well. They wish for better outcomes. But hope is not a strategy. Preparation is. So stop hoping. Start building. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. You don't need someone to tell you it's time. It is already time. You have a choice. That's the key. Now let's go deeper. What does it mean to build a future that respects you? It means creating a life where you can handle your responsibilities, you can support yourself, you can make decisions without fear. It means you are not constantly reacting to life. You are directing it. Remember chapter 1? Stop reacting, start responding. This is where it leads. A life of control, a life of intention, a life of strength. But that life is not given. It is earned through daily effort, through discipline, through consistency, through doing what most people avoid. That's why most people never get there, because they choose comfort over growth, over responsibility, over discipline. And comfort always collects payment later. Always. So decide now. Do you want a comfortable present or a secure future? Because you cannot maximize both. You have a choice. That's the key. Let's talk about time, because this is where everything becomes real. Time is moving. Right now, whether you act or not, whether you prepare or not. And every day you waste is a day you cannot recover. That is the cost. Not money, not effort, time. And once it's gone, it's gone. So treat it differently. Respect it. Use it. Invest it. Because your future depends on it. Now imagine this. 10 years from now, two versions of you. One who built, one who delayed. The one who built has skills, confidence, stability. The one who delayed has regret, pressure, and limited options. Both had the same time, but different choices. That's the difference. That's the key. So who will you become? Not in theory, not in imagination, in reality. Because your future is not decided later. It is decided now. In your habits, in your discipline, in your actions. You don't need a perfect plan. You need commitment. Commitment to growth. Commitment to improvement. Commitment to doing what is necessary. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that is where your future is built. You have a choice. That's the key. So take responsibility. Build your skills. Strengthen your discipline. Create value. Do it daily. Do it consistently. Do it without excuses. Because one day, your future will arrive. And when it does, It will show you exactly what you built. Nothing more, nothing less. Chapter. Takeaway. A future that respects you is built by the actions you take today. So stop drifting. Start building, because your future is watching, and it will become exactly what you create. Closing. The future is watching you. The future is coming, not slowly, not eventually, but right now. With every decision you make, you are stepping closer to it. And when it arrives, it will not ask what you wanted to do. It will reveal what you actually did. That's the truth. No excuses, no explanations, no second chances for lost time. Just results. You have a choice. That's the key. From the very beginning, you've heard it again and again. You have a choice. To react or respond. To stay comfortable or become disciplined. To wait or start building. To repeat bad habits or create better ones. To avoid reality or face it. To drift or design your future. Every chapter led you here, to this moment, because this is where everything becomes real. Not tomorrow, not next week, now, because knowledge without action is useless. And hearing this audiobook will not change your life. What you do after this will. So the question is simple. What will you do next? Will you go back to old patterns, old excuses, old habits, or will you finally decide? Decide to take control. Decide to act. Decide to build something real. Because nobody is coming to do it for you. No one is coming to rescue your future. No one is coming to give you the life you want. That responsibility is yours, and yours alone. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. You don't need perfect conditions. You need to start. That's the key. Let this be the moment you stop playing small. Let this be the moment you stop delaying your life. Let this be the moment you take responsibility for everything you can still change, because you still have time. Right now, you still have time, but not forever. And that's why this matters, because one day you won't have this moment. One day your options will reduce, your energy will drop, your chances will narrow, and on that day you will either thank yourself or regret everything you didn't do. That is the future you should fear. Not people, not failure, not criticism, but regret. The kind of regret that comes from knowing you had the chance and you wasted it. So don't waste this one. Start today. Start small. Start imperfect. Start uncomfortable. But start. Because action creates momentum. Momentum creates change. And change creates a future you can respect. You have a choice. That's the key. Now make it. Final call to action. Do one thing today that your future self will thank you for. Not tomorrow, today.